Hello, welcome to our coffee and go. I have Giselle and Stephen here from the Lover's Passport. We're basically here to talk about all their travels, where they've been, what kind of inspired them to get into what they're doing now, and of course, how the electric bikes that they've been using have really enhanced it all. So thank you guys for joining us. We're super happy to have you on and just kind of really excited to just dive into everything.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Super fun.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, so I guess just to kickstart everything, the main probably question that you guys get all the time is just what started your desire to travel and kind of even more so inspired you to start filming everything?
I think we both come from like different backgrounds of travel. He definitely comes from more like adventure based, outdoor based, and I come from more like city travel. So my mom was a travel agent when I was growing up, so we were always able to like get really good deals on places to travel through that. And she's also worked for like a hotel chain. She now works for like a cruise line. So I've been very lucky enough to travel like from a tiny little kid up until now, and she kind of like sparked that love for travel in me. And then I met Stephen in college, and I finally had a buddy to go like hiking
Aw.
and all that stuff. Nobody ever wanted to go with me, so that's kind of like how I got into traveling. You can talk a little bit more about yours.
Yeah, we were just pretty poor growing up, so we only did like camping, hiking, road trips, just super cheap ways to travel. And we started backpacking and doing a lot of stuff here in California because we have the Eastern Sierra Mountains, which are, in my opinion, like some of the most beautiful mountains in the world. So it was really, really cool to grow up doing that. And then when we started dating, we had coffee actually for like 3 hours. And Giselle told me her favorite trip and she's ever been on was going to Switzerland. And then we went on a road trip up to Big Sur. We started backpacking on the Grand Canyon. And then one of our good friends, actually, Chris, is a professional photographer. So we would model for him on a lot of our hikes that we
Oh,
went on.
cool.
And that kind of grew from there. And then eventually we were like, why don't we just take our own photos? We go on all these things.
So I got a tripod.
Yeah, we got a tripod, and it was Giselle's idea. She loved these two creators, Marie and Jake Snow. They have like over 1 million now. And then Renee Roaming, she has like, I think 800K. They were both super inspiring for us. And we were like, we could do the same thing. Let's try and go for it.
And then it was just like a fun little couples passion project we could do together. It was never meant to become a job. And then COVID happened, like right when we decided we're going to start, like we reserved the usernames like January 2020. And then obviously March comes around and we're like, oh, maybe not. So we just took that like whole month to learn about photography off of YouTube. We're self-taught photographers, and just kind of practiced when we would go for our walks around the neighborhood because we couldn't really do anything else. And we were both working from home. So yeah, it kind of just grew from there. And then once we were in lockdown, we were like, we just want to go travel. Like, once all the restrictions are lifted, and that's when we started road tripping and exploring the rest of California. And then we went from there.
That's awesome. I mean, at least you both had some sort of, travel experience, whether it was near or far. So that little passion just kind of seemed like it grew into a big fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't realize like travel doesn't have to be super far away all the time.
Mhm.
I think that was a big misconception when I first started traveling. And during COVID, I feel like we just really took advantage, especially on the West Coast. There's so much out there, like right in your backyard. So for us, we would just like drive 3 hours and then go to a national park, or like take a boat across. Like we have Channel Islands National Park, like a little 1 hour ferry ride away from us. So we finally just started being like, okay, like there's a lot of hidden gems near us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, definitely. I think a lot of people think of travel as, just it costs a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, where you can start off by weekends, and just exploring your area. I'm sure nobody has explored every single aspect of their area.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Is there a place in particular, I guess, by your hometown that is kind of your favorite go-to, or say you don't have that much time and you kind of want to just do a quick little getaway?
I feel like Santa Barbara is like
Oh, nice.
we're so blessed to live right here where it's like 30-minute drive up the road and we can be in Santa Barbara and they have this gorgeous area right on East Beach with tons of palm trees. We can go slacklining there, just hang out in a hammock, hang out on the beach and play spike ball, or we can drive up to the mountains above Santa Barbara and there's tons of overlooks that you can go hiking to. There's different waterfalls with all the rain that we've had in California. They are gushing. So I feel like that's probably our favorite. Like if we're trying to figure out what we want to go do during the day, that's the easiest choice for us.
Or like the Santa Monica Mountains. There's a lot of like recreation area out in Santa Monica, and there's a ton of really cool hiking and climbing trails out there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. I'm going to note that on my end. Can you guys kind of tell us a bit more about growing like your platforms in the essence of how did you know where to start and kind of how did you know where to head from there?
Yeah. So before making this my full-time job, I actually worked in marketing, doing like PR and influencer brand, like the brand side of influencer management. And I had a coworker who taught me a lot about working with influencers and content creators and things like that. And she had like experience from an agency. So she all of a sudden was like introducing all of this new knowledge that I had never even heard of, like working with influencers and stuff before, but that was in the beauty space. So it was like skincare, hair care, like that kind of stuff. So it's totally different, but like the core principles are the same.
Right.
And so I had a little bit of a leg up in that department. And I feel like most creators that are super successful that were also starting with like a different 9 to 5, most of the 9 to 5s had to do with marketing or PR or like something like that, because it really does translate over to content creation because like your Instagram is basically a business. So you're just trying to figure out a marketing strategy for your business. So that's what we've kind of like come up with every year, every quarter. We do like a marketing plan and like, okay, how are we going to grow our followers? How are we going to do X, Y, and Z, and just treat it like a business. So like Stephen has done this incredible thing of like posting a reel every single day for over a year. Like that is total commitment.
Yeah, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time, a lot of content, and you know, just being really consistent across platforms and really having your like brand, you know what your brand is and you know who your audience is and you love the type of content that you produce. I feel like that's the biggest, most important thing, and being authentic to that.
Yeah, I think totally exactly what she said. I think that the hardest part a lot of people struggle with is they think it's so saturated. They're like, oh, there's so many people that already have hundreds of thousands of followers. Like, why would I even start? Like, I feel like the first barrier to entry is knowing to start. And I have a quote that I tell every single person, like, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start in order to be great. Like that's my quote with everything. So in the beginning, it was definitely hard. We had a ton of friends that were like judging us and like, oh, look at them thinking
like,
they're photographers.
It's so cringe what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, it's kind of cringe, but like you acknowledge it, and then like matter of fact is now
it's not until you're successful that they kind of turn around and are like, wait, can you give me tips? Probably.
Exactly. So, you know, if you stick it out in that first initial like awkward stage, most people you know that started the same time as us during COVID that stuck with it and like were consistent and kind of like pushed past like all the obstacles, they're all doing what we're doing and we're all being able to basically create content around the world for a job and get paid for it. So yeah, just kind of gotta dip your feet in, jump in head first, you know.
That makes sense. I mean, that's really awesome. I feel like a lot of people definitely, that's what's holding them back, you know, the nerves, the judgment, the failure aspect. But you know, you guys said that you wanted to start it just kind of as a passion project, and I feel like a lot of those kind of were starting points is what helps build a business, because if you're not passionate in what you're doing, then if you're constantly looking at the numbers, then you're going to be disappointed and it's not going to be fun and just doesn't last long term.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you let an algorithm determine your happiness, you know, that's just not a good way to go.
An algorithm that changes like every day. That's awesome. So I guess a bigger question on our end is, out of all the bikes that you could have chosen, what kind of gravitated you towards having an event in?
I saw the foldable bike.
Yeah, I feel
I
like that
saw
was
the
the big one
cinches.
because we'd worked with a couple other e-bike companies prior to working with you guys, and
Mhm.
tried out a ton like that. That was just how we got around in Santa Barbara. There were different e-bikes or little scooters you can rent. There's so many different ways you
Right.
can get around, but I feel like the cinch for
Caught my
us, we were
attention.
like,
Yeah.
"Yo, we can put," because she
I
drives
could
a
fit it in my
sedan.
Honda Accord. I was like, I don't need to get a bike rack. I don't need to figure that out. I can just like lift it and put it in my car and not have to worry about it. That was like
Yeah,
super
I
cool.
think the space aspect of that was amazing. Plus, it had the fat tires, so we could ride it on the beach or we could go
Mhm.
off-roading with it, and it just fit our lifestyle so well. So I think initially that we were like, "Yo, that we got to use this bike."
That's awesome. I have a cinch as well, and I take it to the beach all the time to go surfing and things like that. You just see it littered with e-bikes now. So
Yep.
Yeah,
I can see definitely like strict laws probably coming up in the near future, but hopefully it still allows the freedom to have them because they're so convenient.
yeah.
So convenient. And like we just been using them a lot like when we're at home, which is, kind of rare, but when we're at home, we do love using them to commute around town. Like Steve and I took our bikes out just to like go on a date and go to brunch and like ride our bikes
Fun. Yeah.
around, and like we have our little puppy Karen, we'll put her in the little what's it called?
The
Little
burly?
the little thing in the back where she
Uh-huh.
rides around with us, and so it's just a fun way, especially if you're in like a place like California where it's beautiful
Mhm.
weather most of the time. It's always a good time.
Yeah, definitely. So, I guess leading into that too, what kind of main points would you say that having an e-bike for your travels, it's kind of, enhanced the travels or you've been able to see maybe different things that you haven't in the past, if there's, new discoveries made, I don't know, any sort of feedback in that essence of owning these bikes and having them around?
I feel like it makes me feel like a little kid, personally. Like, me and all my guy friends, whenever we do trips with other creators and other just people in our life all the time, and we'll bring our e-bikes, and they're like, "Can I try it out?" And after they come back, they're like, "Yo, I gotta get one of these." They're so much fun to bring on trips, getting especially because we do a lot of national park stuff.
I was just gonna
Mhm.
say
We
that.
we just posted a reel actually on this about it's like one of the best things to have when you go to a national park, because parking sometimes, especially during the summer, is
Terrible.
so bad. And the crowd, like if you're in Yosemite and you're trying to drive around the loop, sometimes
Yeah.
it'll take like over an hour because of how packed it is, instead of walking from trail to trail, which can add up. There was one day in Yosemite we did like almost,
17
yeah, yeah,
miles.
it was ridiculous. From and half of that
That
was
was
just,
before we had bikes.
yeah,
And then now that we bring our bikes, it is just so streamlined and easy. We can like leave our car at the campground, not have to worry about traffic, and like not add the additional mileage on our legs. Cause I mean, most of the stuff we're biking to trailheads. Like,
yeah.
why would we want to walk the extra miles? So
Yeah.
Mhm.
that is such a game changer. Like, we brought I think the most like useful place we brought it was actually Zion National Park, because they have a shuttle system and it only runs at certain hours, but you're allowed to bike on the road. You can't drive like a private vehicle up to Angel's Landing. And we
Mhm.
wanted to be up there for sunrise. And so like we had walked it once. It's an additional like
3 miles.
miles. And so like that's already adding on to a pretty long and like hefty
Yeah.
hike. So the last time we went, we were able to just like bring our e-bikes and like skirt on up to the trailhead and no problems whatsoever. So like having those gives you a lot more flexibility, which is really nice.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, walking to a trail, definitely not
You
as
know, walk some
beautiful
more.
as walking the actual trail and getting tired halfway there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice. I feel like from a photography standpoint too, there's sometimes when we're driving, we're like, "Oh, we want to stop right here and get a photo," but you can't really stop in the middle of the road, or there's no
Right.
parking or XYZ. So we can be riding our bikes if we want to see something. It's so easy. Just boop, we pull off. We can snap our photo, get some really fun content, and then keep cruising. So
Do you just, like, chain them together, if you're kind of gonna leave far, or do you never really go too far from the bikes, or kind of what kind of tips do you have in that sense?
We have like I don't remember if
it's
it was like
called
a
the new,
level
yeah.
6, like it was like a hefty U-lock, like a very thick U-lock, because since they're such nice bikes, like we always want to make sure like we have a very good lock on them.
Right.
Plus an additional lock, which will loop through both of the bikes together. And typically like we're doing it in a place where there's a lot of other bikes.
Okay.
So we're very mindful too, because they are so nice. Like, for example, like Santa Monica, you got to be careful because there's like bike theft all the time. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just making sure like if you are investing in a good bike, you want to make sure you invest in a good lock for your bike.
Right.
And I mean, most of the time in national parks, you're not really going to have like a huge issue. I would say it's more in the cities.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if we're just riding it around like Alabama hills, for example, like we don't have to like really take a ton of measures to make sure
Right.
it's going to get stolen because you're in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Yeah, we actually just went there a couple months ago. It's beautiful. It's my first time.
Oh, it's
It's
awesome.
one of our
Yeah.
favorite areas to go. We go out there. We used to go like almost once a month at a point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, lots of good stuff out there.
Is there anything that you'd like to kind of see with e-bikes? You know, I feel like they're not barely up and coming, but barely kind of getting accepted into
Mhm.
communities more and more, and people are seeing it as an actual, fitness option and not just a lazy way to kind of ride
Right.
a bike. And so is there anything maybe even just for traveling that you'd like to see e-bike companies kind of incorporate, or something that would be handy for travelers like you guys?
I had two thoughts on this. One was, I don't know if it's even possible, but I was like, what if you could sync your Apple Watch or your watch
Hmm.
to your bike somehow? I think that'd be really cool because that'd be a little more accurate than like, starting a bike workout or
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of fun. And then, oh man, I lost my train of thought. What was the second one? Oh, a lighter battery. Just because like we do take it out all the time.
Mhm.
And I love how long the batteries on our bikes last. But as a gal who's very minimal upper body strength, carrying that thing around, like if we take it out for like extra security reasons, like we don't want
Yeah.
someone to steal our battery, like they are kind of heavy, regardless of what e-bike you have or any brand, like the batteries are just going to be heavy. So I think as the industry as a whole, I feel
Mhm.
like that would be rad to see, like same long lasting battery life, but a little more
Right.
heavy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's definitely something that's going to come in the
I'm
future.
sure.
It's kind of like iPhones, right? We
Right.
had that big chunky phone, and
Yeah.
now we're down to a slim one.
I think that's just batteries in general. Like if they can find a better battery to
They
go with an
will.
e-bike, or if they
Yeah.
can go with a car. I mean, everyone in California is pushing electric cars so hard now, but I feel like hybrids are almost the way to go, because the electric cars are right now, I feel like in 10 years they'll be there, but right now it's like,
The batteries are still
yeah.
iffy. But that's another
Yeah.
thing too, like with pushing electric vehicles and things, like having an e-bike is an awesome alternative
Mhm.
if you're living close to your job, of course.
I mean, even if you're not, they go so fast. I ride them everywhere now. Whenever I have somewhere to go, if it's a nice day, I feel like we're
If you
spoiled
don't
because
have
it's
to
in
bring
California.
anything, yeah.
In California, we can ride almost anywhere because the weather's perfect every day of the year.
Right.
So
Minus the past 2 weeks, but
Yeah, that's been out of nowhere. And
crazy.
it's not over yet either, so
Mhm.
I just wanted to touch on what you mentioned about connecting it to kind of your Apple, like, watch or fitness watch. That's definitely something that we've asked our customers too. We have an event in app right now, and so right now you can connect it to the app, and it
Okay.
can kind of track the similar, things that the watch can, probably not everything to that extent. But I think that's something for the next step that we're trying to look into, connect to fitness watches, because obviously more and more people trying to get into, e-bikes and just kickstarting their health. And so
Right.
that's awesome that you mentioned that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would be super cool, especially like you said, like if people are now viewing them less in like a stigmatized light, like for fitness. Like obviously we like ride our bikes everywhere, but it's not like we're just full throttle the full time. So
Yeah.
which I'm sure, I mean, sometimes I do, it's kind of fun, but like having that additional thing, like I don't know, I love keeping track of all my workouts in the watch. So that's a
I
good,
like seeing the complete circles.
yes. Move ring closed.
Yeah, it makes you feel accomplished. So when you guys are out there riding your e-bikes, whether it's, near or new locations, is there something you kind of keep an eye out for, or any extra precautions like while you're riding in these new locations? Because I mean, you see all these signs for cars to watch out for motorcycles. So, is there any kind of tips that you have, I guess, there for new locations, or if you have established ones for your go-to locations and things like that?
I feel like we drive around a new area a lot before we get on the bikes, just to make like kind of get a lay of the land first
Okay.
and see like, okay, what kind of drivers are out here? Like, for example, if you were biking out in LA and you're like on Highway 1 or something, people drive really fast. It can be really crazy. So, like, kind of, you can literally get that vibe though from just driving down that road. So, kind of just like getting awareness of your environment that way.
I feel
Obviously,
like we
looking
all,
it up online too, like looking up some reviews of biking in the area and whether, you know, it's popular or not, or if there's certain things to look out for. Usually, I feel like that's kind of flagged online. But what
Mhm.
about you? Do you have any other?
I feel like we only ride during sunrise and sunset personally.
And there's a lot less people at that time.
Yeah,
So
it's great because normally when we are going out for photography reasons or traveling, the best time for us to be out is during sunrise and sunset. And it makes it so there's no one ever out. We barely see any cars normally, and it makes the rides a lot more enjoyable. So we can zoom a little bit faster, take turns, and not have to worry about as many cars. So I feel like getting out before as it says, the early bird gets the worm, or
Right.
even going out during sunset. I feel like most of the time during the summer sunsets at like 7 or 8 o'clock, most people are going inside already by that time. So you have the road to yourself.
Yeah, and with that too, like making sure you're wearing like bright colored clothing, you're not wearing all black, and like you're wearing a helmet, and you know, just other things you can do like that to make sure you're like seen and protected.
No, those are all really awesome tips. I feel like people kind of just go out and they don't wanna wear the basics, which is a helmet.
Yeah.
Well, we had
Uh,
a friend in Bali get in a really bad like bike accident, and the only thing that saved her life was her helmet. So like when you have an experience like that, or if you know
Right.
someone who has an experience like that, I feel like it's ingrained into your mind. Like, who cares if you look funny? Like, it's to
Yeah.
save your head.
Right, and especially at the speed that these bikes can get to now,
Absolutely, you need one.
I don't know, I can't get past, like, 15 miles an hour without I'm like, "This is too fast."
So funny. Steven's a little speed demon, so he's always got his helmet on.
It also makes sense, the hours that you spoke about that you go shoot, because I feel like your videos never have anyone in it. Like, where are these places? When are they going? Are they clearing out the space? Like,
You
it
get
just
those
looks
questions
unreal.
all the time.
They're like, "How did you Photoshop out video?" And it's like, "No, it was empty."
gotta go at the right time.
That's awesome. Well, I guess the last question that I would have for you guys is just, you mentioned your dog, and how you have them usually, like, on your burly. How is it riding with your dog, versus, like, kind of riding by yourself? I'm sure you're, keeping an eye on them and
Oh yeah, she's like a sassy little queen. Like, she'll be vocal if she wants to stop or something, but
Her name is Karen.
her name's Karen.
For a reason.
But she's funny. We typically will take her on like trails we know and have done before rather than new ones. So we like actually know the area. We love taking her down on this one little beach trail that's right by our house. And yeah, she like tries to like stick her head out. But yeah, no, she's adorable. She loves that. We've also done it where we've had her in if it's a new trail or something and we don't want to bring the extension just because we're not sure of like if it's going to be good on the whatever the landscape is, we'll put her in. She has a doggy backpack, and so we put her in the doggy backpack and we strap her all in, and then she rides on the back of Stephen. It's very cute. She loves it though. She loves doing that.
That's fun. We have, I'm sure you guys have heard of Brody, that dude, and so he'll do
Yes,
that
with
too,
the
strapping in his backpack, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. We need to get Karen some glasses. She does not have those rad little things, but that dog is like a giant floofball.
I know.
I love
Yeah, that's a big teddy bear.
Yeah, Karen's like 10 pounds, a little smaller, a little easier.
Perfect. Just get a little baby front pouch if anything.
A little sling. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's so cute. But yeah, the nice thing is it's like a legit dog backpack. So like you can actually strap her in by her collar and make sure she doesn't like wiggle around while you're biking, but she still has a little head hole so she can like see everything and hang her head out, which is really nice.
That's awesome. I need a puppy just for that reason. Sometimes riding alone is just not as fun.
No.
Well, thank you both so much for pretty much tuning in with us and letting us talk about, everything that you guys do and your insight about the bikes. We're doing this series in essence to kind of get different perspectives on, how people view the e-bikes and how people utilize them in different ways, just because, for the longest time, it's been viewed as one thing and one thing only. It's those who maybe want a bike ride that don't actually want to exercise, supposedly. So, like, having this kind of understanding and, like, different perspective and how you can utilize it in more ways than just your neighborhood, it's really awesome.
Yeah, totally agree.
If you like right now, just want to give a shout out to any channels, just to kind of promote yourselves on your end and let people know how to follow your travels and see any more content you have for, exploring and e-bikes and all things out there.
Sure. Yeah, we're the Lover's Passport on all platforms. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and we have a blog on our website, theloverspassport.com. And we have a podcast too. It's called Unfiltered Adventures, and you can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all the sorts. You can listen anywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. If you don't know, we're also going to be tuning in live at 1:00 through Instagram Live. So if you missed part of this interview, feel free to head on in there. We'll be covering around some of the same things, probably dive into some different ones too.
Sweet. Thank you again for having us. It was awesome.
I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye.